This is Duke University.
I was thinking about, putting together a representative collection of photos from ranging from 25th January in 2011 until today, actually. I feel in many ways that we are actually not looking only to one street in Cairo, but because these are photos from many streets in Egypt. The photos are taken from all over Egypt. And I mean, it's worth thinking of today that many of these graffitis, they don't exist any longer, only as photos. This is a nice collection, I mean, it doesn't, of course, doesn't cover everything here, but it gives you a good idea on what's going on and has been going on in Egypt since 25th January. Because before that date, there wasn't any graffiti in Egypt. I mean, believe it or not. In this 20 million big capital of Cairo, you didn't find any graffiti, and in Egypt as such, no. Yeah, this one doesn't exist any longer. It's a detail of a huge mural that was created after 74 young football supporters were beaten to death and trampled to death in Port Said. It happened in February 2012. And artists came to the street at Mohammed Mahmoud. It's very near Tahrir Square. And they started to paint these big portraits to honor the young people that had died in Port Said. So we can move down here to see some more images from the same street. Mm-hmm. And here you have, here is the one that we have a detail over there. Here is more the full portrait, and together here with other young martyrs, Shaheed as they are called, I mean, people feel that they died for the revolution. I mean, there are so many young men and women that have died since the revolution started, who have been out there, fighting for freedom and bread, social justice. I think the numbers are today up more than 2,000, 3,000 people maybe, because people they want to honor the martyrs. They want to show their gratitude also to the martyrs, that they have been fighting for freedom. And so they don't only bring flowers and garlands, they bring their whole family to pose in front of the portraits, and it's really moving to see, mother, father, and a couple of children standing in front of the martyrs, very seriously looking, into the camera, and then other relatives are photographing them while they are standing there. Now it's this is also a way, I think, we have the graffiti in the street, but it is widely circulated because it has been it is photographed the whole time by people, and they take photos with their mobiles and then they upload them on Facebook, on Twitter. So, for example, there is one image here that I followed Mira when she was painting it. This painting is it was done a couple of days after a very brutal attack on a woman at Tahrir Square. It coincided with the second anniversary of the revolution, and the woman in here, she was raped by a group of hundreds of men that had circled around her and put her in the center of something we call the circle of hell. And nobody can hear her when she is in the center of this circle, and there she was raped by a knife. Absolutely appalling. Really, very, very awful. And I posted my photos after Mira had finished her work, and it only took like couple of days, and then this image of Mira's graffiti had reached 80,000 hits on Facebook. First, we can move to another piece by Mira, where she has made a graffiti of an activist, and look at this activist. I mean, she wants to make a point in Mira too, you know, that ordinary women, they're out there fighting, in this case sexual harassment. And here we have the sexual harassers, and a woman in high heels and very feminine, dressed in a very feminine way. She's spraying away these sexual harassers as if they were insects. And here we can see, you know, the horse of freedom being chased by the evil powers, and I guess the evil powers here is the military, or the SCAF as it's called, the Supreme Council of the Armed Forces. Al-Awad, he makes often a point that we as human beings, we can do both good and evil, you know, so he's really not telling people, you know, that some of us are just angels and we are only capable of doing good, but we have the choice, we have the choice to choose, you know, if we want to do good or evil. Here we have, if we had continued up here, we would have ended up at Mohammed Mahmoud Street. Starts here actually, and this corner is facing Tahrir Square. So when we are now viewing this image, it is as if we are standing at Tahrir Square, and this wall has been continuously painted with the faces of Mubarak. Then Mubarak was replaced by Tantawi, and here it is Badia. He's the Muslim Brotherhood supreme leader. And what the artist wants to say is that it doesn't matter who you put here, it's the same. Some of these artists don't like to be called graffiti artists. They are artists, they are painters. And I'm not making maybe the correct differentiation between them. You know, it's easy to say graffiti artist to everybody, but I know that some of them, they point out, no, don't call me a graffiti artist, I am a painter. So for example, I would say Ammar Abu Bakr, he wants to be called a painter. I think also Al-Awad is definitely a painter also, you know. They come from an artist background, they were artists, they were teachers at the Faculty of Fine Arts in Luxor before they entered the street. So others, they have more of an activist background and are not as skilled in doing, they wouldn't be able to do a painting like this, for example. What they are doing is they can easily take a stencil that some of the more artists and graphic designers have created, and take the stencil with them out and spray the stencil. This very strong, powerful piece by Al-Awad, he says himself he wanted to honor the female protesters, and he's inspired by a painting from a temple in Luxor called Ramesseum. And this is his interpretation of that painting. He's transformed it into our time, and it's also a very good example of how an artist is using the Pharaonic heritage to send a message to us today. I mean, the graffiti artists, they are vitally using the Pharaonic heritage to make their point. And in a way, it's an irony that Tutankhamun and Nefertiti is brought to life on the walls like this, because I don't think Nefertiti is considered being the most beautiful woman who's ever been living on Earth, but I don't think she was that revolutionary or that she would have supported any kind of popular uprising. But anyhow, she's used among the artists as a source of power and to give them strength. And here she's equipped with a tear gas tire. I photographed this several times. Here is an activist crying out. Maybe it's a football supporter from the ultras. They have been very active in the revolution and after the revolution, and crying out for a thorough revolution. And then, I mean, this in reality, was a huge painting. And then, people passing by, they have added their own. Everybody has been scribbling here, it seems, adding new things to it. And this is a very common scene. This shows how little respect the Egyptians had for Morsi from the very beginning. And what's interesting here, I put together 4 portraits, but originally they all come from the same stencil. And the stencil was just a very simple, it's not even making fun of Morsi, it's just a simple stencil of Morsi, the black here. And then people was given the opportunity, and here we have this interaction with the people are passing by and checking out the walls. So everybody was free to add what they wanted. And here, you see, they were giving people paint, and somebody added a clown nose or funny ears, or just crossing him out, a Muslim beard, or Islamist beard, and like as if he's a saint, and monkey ears, I mean, this is just 4 of hundreds in the same style. And these 4 I actually found on the very wall surrounding the presidential palace while he was in the presidential palace. And this is how much people disrespected him. I was at Tahrir Square during these 18 days it took to bring Mubarak down. And it was a very special experience, and it all filled us with hope that, millions of people were united with the same dream. And of course it makes me really sad to see what's going on now when people are really confused, and most of the artists, I understand, is in a sort of limbo on where to turn from now on.
Produced by Duke University, online at duke.edu.